So this is our calamansi stem. As you can see, it's so tiny, but look at the fruit. So many calamansi growing in just one tiny stem. Hi guys, welcome to our channel. My name is Joffrey, and today we will talk about our calamansi. We've been growing this calamansi for quite some time now. This is a 3 years old calamansi, and the last time I showed you it was still flowering. And I just have an excellent question in our comments from Virginia. She was asking how to retain the flowers that are falling in our calamansi tree. So we'll cover all the bases and why it's doing that. Also, I will tell you what I did in our calamansi so that we can retain all the flowers and make sure we have some calamansi fruit. As you can see, the calamansi here has so many flowers in all the area. So the flowers are from the bottom all the way down to the top. Even for this tiny little stem in here, we have so many flowers. And what we need to make sure is that this will turn into a calamansi, because sometimes we know that we have calamansi flowering, but it's not actually developing all these calamansi and you can't see any fruit around. First, you need to water them and make sure all your soil is wet, because remember, the calamansi is producing so many juice, so it requires a lot of water to do that, especially if there's a lot of fruit going on. So it requires so much water. Like what I do, I water it every morning. I check them in the afternoon, making sure that it's not dry. If it needs some watering, so I water it again. So preferably you water it in the morning and water it in the afternoon, just to make sure that they have enough water during the day. So naturally, the calamansi plant is not a full sun fruit, so it's a partial sun. That means you can put it on the shaded or partially shaded, just to make sure that they have also enough sunlight during the day, but not fully shaded. So it requires at least 6 to 8 hours of sunlight. And if you're living in a four-season country, you don't have to worry, you can bring it inside. This plant, it has a cold tolerant, so you can bring it inside. They can live at a cold temperature but not on a freezing temperature. Number 4, so you need to make sure that you are feeding your plant. So this calamansi plant, we always make sure that we feed them. So we make sure we give them some fertilizer, especially that's in the pot, so it's contained. There's no other source of food but to give them a fertilizer. So that will make a difference as well if you're putting it on the ground or on a raised bed where they have access to food. But for this, because it's in a container, so we have to put on some fertilizer to make sure that it's being fed, because it's producing so many fruit. We have to make sure that it has the nutrients to give and to sustain all this fruit that it's growing. In growing a calamansi fruit, when you see that some of the flowers are falling and it's not generating any fruit, that's very normal, because when a calamansi produce some flowers, so it's natural that not all the flowers will become the calamansi fruit. Some of it will fall down, but most should be retained. In many varieties of fruit, they always does that, just like mangoes. So they produce so many flowers, but you see not all will become a mango fruit. So it goes the same with the calamansi, but you should be seeing plenty of calamansi when the plant is healthy, because it's trying to sustain all the flowers and make sure that it will become the calamansi fruit, which it requires so much nutrients from the plant. You need to feed them regularly with your fertilizer. So you need to follow your routine on putting fertilizer in your plant. If you're putting it every other week, then you do so because the plant requires that. And the watering is very important to it as well. So overall, when you're growing a calamansi, just make sure you water them, you put some fertilizer so that they have enough nutrients to sustain all the fruit that it's growing, and make sure they have enough sunlight during the day. And once the plant is healthy, it will provide you with this juicy calamansi. So this is our calamansi stem. As you can see, it's so tiny, but look at the fruit. So many calamansi growing in just one tiny stem.